Hi everybody, we have a new moon in Pisces coming up on the 26th of February, but it's also a solar eclipse, so there's added depth and meaning to this, and the eclipse actually works in our favor here with this new moon, because this is a new moon that's going to be really intense, especially when it comes to the emotions. Now it happens on the 26th of February at 2:59 in the afternoon, and that's based on London time. And basically a new moon is when the moon is totally black and the sun and the moon, they sit together, and the moon is pulling energy in to get ready for its next cycle. So what it's doing in this new moon period, it's pulling in Pisces energy. And Pisces is all about the emotions, it's about spirituality, it's about being self-sacrificing, it's thinking about other people, and it's also about feeling your feelings, kind of being forced to feel your feelings. So it's pulling all of that Pisces energy in, and I mentioned this in the weekly already that this is a great time for people who work intuitively, people who are psychic readers, intuitives, mediums, channels, because all of the emotional energy that's available will really allow you to receive messages and to get tuned in. But what it's not so good for is people who don't want to feel their feelings, people who are in denial, or people who have addiction problems, people who really, when a feeling comes up, get rid of that negative feeling, especially if it's negative. If it's a positive feeling, then most people will be happy to feel that. But if it's negative, a lot of people reach for something. They try and change the way they feel by altering their physical chemistry, so smoking something, drinking something, taking a pill, taking a drug, whatever it is. So it's important to be aware of this during this time particularly. It's also at 8 degrees, this new moon, and 8 in numerology is all about power and strength. So it's strong already emotionally, but it's going to be a new moon in Pisces squared because of that 8, and there's going to be a lot of emotion floating around. Now, I'll touch on the eclipse later, but the eclipse is actually something that is really positive with this new moon, because the emotions are going to be so strong, you're going to be forced to look at what's there, what's good and what isn't good, and the eclipse allows you to kind of let go of it and to release this energy. So we've got that happening in the early afternoon here, but then the new moon forms kind of connections with other things in the chart which kind of influence the new moon a little bit. Now, first of all, we've got Neptune sitting on top of the new moon. Neptune is the water planet. It's the planet of dreams and aspirations, of intuition. That's very happily placed in Pisces, because in modern astrology, it actually rules Pisces. So the water planet in the sign of water, highly intuitive, highly emotional. So that's sitting on top of this new moon. So we've got an extra dose of emotions coming in, and it's at 11 degrees, which is the master number of service. Okay, so don't look at these feelings that are going to come up as something that's negative or that's there to torture you. You really have the opportunity to let go of some of this emotional baggage that you're carrying around, and it's going to allow you to kind of be more free and able to make decisions that are kind of more objective, rather than based on your emotional experiences that you had in the past, and how your emotions kind of drive you in a sense to make future bad decisions. So this is a good time to kind of break emotional patterns. We also have Mercury conjuncting this new moon. A conjunction is when the planet and another planet or luminary, they kind of occupy a similar position and their energies come together. Mercury is in Pisces, so Mercury is the communication planet. In Pisces, it's very imaginative, it's very creative, but it's also a little bit fuzzy in terms of what is real and what's just my imagination, what's genuine intuition and what's kind of ego, what is really going to be useful and viable and what isn't. It kind of makes it more difficult to decide in terms of which thoughts to follow and which not to follow, and that kind of complicates this a little bit, because it's about looking at what comes up. And I think a good way to simplify this is, if I feel it, it's true, because there's not a lot of objectivity involved here. Everything is about your inner landscape, your inner world, your emotions, your feelings, and as long as you just look at your feelings as they are in a pure way, and you don't try and analyze them or try and make sense of them, and you just feel them and see them for what they are, then it's a good opportunity to work with them. Now, the new moon, it opposes the North Node in Virgo in your second house. And the North Node in Virgo is really the opposite of everything that's going on here in the new moon area of the chart, because the North Node in Virgo is about what do I want to do in future, and what decisions do I want to make about my life, and how do I want to be in the real world, and how do my emotions and letting go of the things that don't serve me, how will that allow me to get there? So again, these emotions aren't just coming up to make your life difficult or to make you have a bad day or whatever. It's not just a temporary thing that's got no meaning or purpose behind it. What this does is it allows you to get more clear and focused on what it is you're trying to achieve in future, and actually taking practical action to get there. So, like I said in the weekly, you've got to see what the problem is first before you can actually deal with the problem, and the problem is going to become apparent to you via your emotions. And potential problems are things like codependency, or I always date people and when I get into a relationship I give my power away, or I do have addiction problems, or I've got low self-esteem, or I really don't enjoy this position that I'm in my life. It's anything that really is suppressed, that's very personal to you, and that, in the busyness of everyday life, that you're not going to be that aware of because you're too busy actually dealing with your circumstances, rather than just sitting there navel gazing and thinking, how do I feel today? How do I feel about my life today? Very few of us do that. And this is an opportunity to really look at your life and see it, and to get clear on how you feel about it, and what needs to change and what you want to let go. So then there are some other aspect patterns that occur here, and there's quite a few. The first of them is that the South Node and Mercury, they square Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius. Okay, so there's friction between the emotional stuff, and especially the negative stuff, and saying, I know this doesn't help me, I know this isn't particularly productive, but I don't want to let go of it just yet. I've got this character defect, or I've got this personality problem, but it also serves me in some way. So if you have that kind of reluctance about it, look at what it does for you. And again, an example of this is, I've got ill health, which means that, for instance, I work in a job that I don't like, and because I have ill health, I get to take a sick day every other month, and it means that I don't have to work as hard as other people. That's a kind of payoff, a negative payoff to a negative kind of circumstance that can be an attachment, and that you don't want to let go. So just be aware of that there's going to be this energy sort of working against you in a sense, which says, I don't want to let go of my flaws, of my defect, even though I have the opportunity to do so. So then also the South Node and Mercury, they semi-square Pluto in Capricorn, and that is at 18 degrees. And this causes friction again, in the sense that, yes, I'm feeling all of these things, but I'm going to have to make changes if I actually look at them. And that can be a fear. If I see the problem for what it is, then I'm going to be forced to make changes, and I don't really want the extra work. So that again complicates things, and it kind of takes this opportunity and makes it look like work, rather than a genuine opportunity for you to become emotionally more stable, emotionally kind of well. And it's important to recognize those inner resistances and not to give them much thought. On the other hand, we've got the new moon semi-squaring the midheaven in Aries, and that balances this out, because the midheaven in Aries is going to say, yes, I do see the problem and I'm willing to make changes. So that's a total contradiction here, and that's nice, because even though Pluto is saying, I can't really be bothered, Aries is going to be like, oh my God, I've identified the problem. Let's do something about it. Let's make changes. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. So that's really nice. So the only thing that you have to watch out for then is that Black Moon Lilith, which is going to say, oh, just sweep it under the rug. Just forget about it. Deal with it another time. Today is not the day to deal with it. I've talked about the opposition with the North Node. Other aspect patterns are a Neptune quincunxing the rising sign, which is in Leo. And that's, again, very positive because it says, okay, if I let go of these things that challenge me, that hold me back in life, then I can really achieve my true potential, and I can be creative, and I can feel passion, and I can do something that is really true to my nature and something that I'm meant to do. So that is at 11 degrees, master number of service, same way as Neptune is at 11 degrees. And this is really an opportunity for you to be of service to yourself and to do the work and to get rid of all the emotional rubbish and to just free yourself up and to just clear things out so that you can focus on the positive and that you can express positive emotions. The new moon also sesqui squares Jupiter in Libra. So this is going to have a positive effect on your relationships with other people, because like I said, if you have something like low self-esteem, or if you have addiction issues, that is going to isolate you from other people in a sense, because either you're too shy or your addiction is socially frowned upon. It kind of creates a barrier between you and other people. And if you do the work on this day, and if you're willing to let go of the emotional stuff, then you will really be able to build bridges with other people and to improve your relationships. So again, like the midheaven in Aries, this says it's important to do this work, and it's important to get motivated and to actually take the bull by the horns and say, I'm going to get rid of some of this junk that I carry around with me. Which, sometimes we hold on to these things that really don't support us because we feel like they're part of who we are, and it's become a habit, and it's become the part of our identity as such, and we identify and see ourselves in a certain way. But habits can be broken, and anything that doesn't really offer you anything positive really needs to go. So you've got to be a little bit willing to do the work, and this willingness is what takes me to the eclipse now, because an eclipse is when the new moon or full moon is interrupted. And what you look for is whether it's on the south node or north node of the moon. Okay, if it's on the north node, it pulls extra energy in, like we had earlier in the month. But when it's on the south node, it presents an opportunity to let go of things. And the effects of an eclipse can be felt for 6 months afterwards. So the full moon that we had, I think it was on the 11th of February, that was in Leo. There was an eclipse there, that was a lunar eclipse. And that has really given you a kind of 6-month window now to be creative and to really tap into your passions. That's still active and that's going on in the background. What this one does, this solar eclipse, it brings the new moon in itself brings up all of this emotional stuff. Okay, and thank goodness this is an eclipse as well, because it provides the solution to the problem. All the emotions come up, and then the south node is almost like a drain, and you can take all the emotional junk and you can flush it down the drain and be done with it. And that applies for the next 6 months. So 2017, or the next 6 months of 2017 particularly, are going to be a time of you being creative and really tapping into your passion. And with this now, also having the ability to let go of negative emotions, to let criticism kind of wash off you, water off a duck's back, and to be able to take personal emotional issues and to resolve them and to be done with them. So if you've been a smoker for the last 20 years, now's the time to look at that addiction and to say, is this something I enjoy, or am I kind of kidding myself? And you will really be supported by this eclipse to let go of that habit, that addiction, and to be rid of it once and for all. So I think that's it in terms of the aspect patterns and the actual energies. I just want to double check that I haven't missed anything. Yeah, that's it. That's it, yeah. So it is an intense emotional time, so just be aware of that. But realize that there is this kind of ability to get rid of things. The way I do these is I always find it useful to write. Like if I've got a problem, let's say low self-esteem or social anxiety, just taking a piece of paper and saying, I have social anxiety because, and then you list the reasons why, it really clarifies things, and it really it's a good way of getting your ideas and your thoughts and your beliefs down on paper and seeing them in black and white. And as soon as you put them in black and white, some of them will immediately seem ridiculous to you. You know, I have social anxiety because I am too tall, for instance. Okay, that really makes no sense. And often when we think these things, we don't see them as clearly, and we don't kind of just dismiss them and say, well, that's ridiculous. Why have I got this belief? When you actually put it down on paper, it becomes much clearer to say, well, that's valid and that's not valid. And then you can immediately let go of the things which just seem ridiculous. And some of the things which are more ingrained and more kind of complicated, you can look at those and then do work on them. You know, you can speak to a therapist or a counselor. You can do some healing on it. You can go to a kind of a holistic practitioner or a Reiki healer or a spiritual healer, or you can meditate on it, or whatever form you choose. At least you're aware of the problem, and then you can do something about it and let go of it. And that's what the opportunity of this new moon in Pisces / lunar eclipse is all about. Freeing yourself of the emotional junk and baggage, so you can be a more well-adjusted person, and that you can tap into your creativity and really do what it is you're meant to do and the things that you enjoy, rather than just focusing on the things that hold you back all the time. So it's important work to do. We all have to do it. We all have to kind of take an inventory at some point and do a stock take of what we're all about, and make sure that, you know, the faulty beliefs that have crept in, that we don't feed them and give them more energy than they're really worth. So I hope that gives you an idea of what this is about. If you would like a private reading with me, then please visit the website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on the readings tab to order your reading. And what I can do is I can draw up your natal chart using your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. And then I can put these transits around your natal chart and see in what area of your chart this is going to affect you. So if it's in your 5th house of romantic relationships, then you're going to be able to detox the faulty things that are going on in your romantic life. If it's going on in your 2nd house of money, then it's your spiritual and emotional beliefs about money which keep you from having abundance and prosperity. And then you can do the work to really flush those out and get rid of them and bring abundance into your life. So it really depends on what your birth chart is about. So if you're interested in doing that, then go on the website like I mentioned. Please remember to subscribe to this channel. I hope you have a wonderful time here and that you experience a sense of freedom and kind of detox and cleansing. And I will speak to you for the daily tarot readings, the weekly horoscopes, the monthly horoscopes, and all the other videos I do. And I'll speak to you soon.